Welcome back to our channel where we dive deep into the fascinating and often surprising world of coins, and today we've got an incredible discovery for all our passionate numismatists, collectors, and anyone even remotely curious about the hidden treasures that could be sitting quietly in your pocket change, because today we are uncovering the amazing story of the 1981 cent coin, a seemingly ordinary penny that under the right circumstances and with the right errors and mistakes can be worth a staggering $370, and in this video we are going to break down every single detail, every variety, every anomaly, and every subtle imperfection that can transform this humble copper-plated Lincoln cent into a high-value collectible that serious coin collectors are willing to pay big money for. So let's jump into the specifics of what makes this particular coin so valuable, starting with the year itself, 1980. A time when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies across multiple facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with the majority being struck in Philadelphia and Denver. And during this time period, coin production was still encountering significant mechanical and human error issues that led to a wide variety of minting mistakes, some of which only become obvious after careful inspection under magnification, while others are so dramatic that they can be seen with the naked eye, and these are the types of errors that collectors go wild for. Now the 1980 Lincoln cent is known for several error types including doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, cut breaks, BIE errors, repunched mint marks, and even transitional planchette issues, all of which can drastically raise the value of a coin depending on their visibility, rarity, and condition. For instance, one of the most talked about varieties is the 1980 doubled die obverse, where the doubling on Lincoln's profile, the word liberty, and the motto "I in God we trust" is strong enough to be seen without a microscope, and that type of doubling can significantly increase a coin's worth, especially when paired with sharp detail and original luster. And while the 1980 penny may not be as famous for its doubled dies as the 1955 or 1969 S varieties, it still features some striking doubling in several examples which have been verified by professional grading services, leading collectors to seek out these coins with great enthusiasm. And in addition to doubled dies, off-center strikes from 1980 are among the most commonly reported and most desirable mint errors, where the coin was not properly centered during the strike, resulting in a visibly misaligned image, and the percentage of the off-center strike plays a huge role in the value. A coin that is struck 5 to 10% off-center might be interesting, but a coin that is struck 40 to 60% off-center while still retaining the full date and mint mark can skyrocket in value, especially in uncirculated condition. Then we have die cracks and die breaks, natural occurrences as dies are used repeatedly over time and start to break down under the immense pressure of minting, leading to raised lines or blobs of metal on the surface of the coin, which are referred to as die cracks or cut breaks depending on location, size, and shape. And the 1980 penny has been documented to include a number of strong die cracks that stretch across Lincoln's head or shoulders, giving the appearance of lightning bolts or scars, and these visual effects can be extremely eye-catching to collectors who love unique and dramatic errors. Now the cut break error is particularly rare and valuable, and occurs when a portion of the die literally breaks off, leaving a blank void that allows molten metal to flow into the empty space, creating a raised blob of metal often along the rim of the coin, and these can be worth hundreds of dollars alone, especially if the cut is large and located in an unusual or aesthetically interesting area. And speaking of visually interesting errors, let's talk about BIE errors, a popular subtype of die break error that occurs specifically in the word liberty, where a small vertical die break appears between the letters B and E, effectively creating what looks like the letter I wedged in between, giving rise to the term BIE cent. And while these aren't usually worth hundreds on their own, their popularity among collectors and their prevalence in the 1980 issues have made them a notable and desirable error for those building complete collections of Lincoln cent anomalies. And then there are repunched mint marks, commonly abbreviated as RPM, which occur when the mint mark was struck more than once in slightly different positions, and this was more common in the era before mint marks were part of the master die and had to be punched into each working die individually, leading to overlapping impressions when alignment was off, and while most 1980 pennies from Philadelphia lack mint marks. Altogether, Denver minted coins can show dramatic repunched D marks that are highly collectible, especially in combination with other errors. Now let's talk about transitional errors, which happen when the mint switches materials or design elements from one year to the next and a few error coins slip through the cracks carrying the old planchette or design into the new year's run. And while 1980 itself wasn't a transitional year per se, some planchette errors have been found where the coin was struck on a foreign planchette or an experimental alloy, causing weight discrepancies and off-color appearances that alert collectors to something unusual. And these wrong planchette errors can be incredibly valuable depending on the rarity and metal composition of the planchette used, and these coins will often weigh significantly more or less than the standard 3.11 grams of a copper-based penny or the 2.5 grams of the post-1982 zinc penny. So weighing your 1980 pennies can sometimes reveal hidden treasures right in your loose change, and all of these errors become significantly more valuable when paired with high-grade condition. So coins that still possess full mint luster, no signs of wear, and clean surfaces are far more desirable than circulated examples even with the same error. And this is why coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC often command much higher prices. And let's not forget about struck-through errors, where debris such as cloth, thread, grease, or even wire gets stuck on the die and prevents a clean impression from being made on the planchette, leaving behind ghostly images, indentations, or smeared elements. And while rare, these types of errors on 1980 cents have been documented and are highly collectible when well preserved. And sometimes these struck-through errors create eerie or surreal effects that make the coin feel one of a kind, which is exactly what many collectors are looking for, something that no one else has, something that stands out in a collection. And then we get to multiple error combinations, where two or more of these error types occur on a single coin, such as a double die with an off-center strike or a cud break with a repunched mint mark. And the rarity of such combinations can cause bidding wars at auctions, with prices often exceeding several $100s or even more depending on condition and visibility. And for the 1980 Lincoln cent, combinations like these are rare but not impossible, and when discovered, they draw immense interest in online marketplaces, coin shows, and collector circles. And it's important to note that error coins are not always evenly distributed. Some rolls or bags may contain multiple errors while others contain none at all, making coin roll hunting a popular pastime for those hoping to strike it rich. And over the years, documented sales have shown that 1980 Lincoln cents with major visible errors have sold for hundreds of dollars, including examples with dramatic off-center strikes, double denominations, major die breaks, and repunched mint marks. And when found in uncirculated or mint state grades, the value can rise exponentially, especially when authenticated and graded by a reputable service. And with the increasing popularity of numismatics thanks to online communities and marketplaces, more and more people are becoming aware of the value hidden in everyday pocket change. And the 1980 penny, despite being produced in large numbers, has proven to be fertile ground for error hunters and seasoned collectors alike. So if you come across a 1981 cent coin, it's well worth taking a closer look. Check the weight, look for doubling, inspect for mint mark issues, examine for die cracks or cud breaks, and consider submitting promising finds for professional grading, because the right combination of factors can push its value all the way to $370 or even beyond depending on market demand, collector interest, and overall condition, and whether you're searching through your coin jar. Next, 2004 1 cent USA coin, where we uncover the hidden treasures in your pocket change and explore the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins that most people overlook without a second thought. and today we are taking a deep dive into one of the most intriguing modern Lincoln cents, the 2004 1-cent coin, which might look like any regular penny at first glance, but due to a wide range of minting mistakes, die varieties, striking anomalies, planchet inconsistencies, and other rare and collectible error types, certain examples of this 2004 penny can be worth up to $239 or even more depending on their condition, the rarity of the error, and collector demand. So if you've ever wondered how a simple coin minted in the billions could command such a price, stay with us as we unravel everything you need to know about the 2004 penny and what exactly makes it worth big money, starting with the fact that in 2004, the United States Mint produced an immense number of Lincoln cents, primarily at the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, identified by either the absence of a mint mark or the presence of a D below the year on the obverse, and while most of these coins followed the expected quality and design standards, a small percentage left the mint with significant errors that now fetch premium prices on the numismatic market. And among the most sought-after 2004 penny errors are double die varieties, which result from a misalignment or repeated impressions during the die creation process, leading to visible doubling in certain areas of the coin's design, and some 2004 Lincoln cents have been discovered with strong doubling on the obverse, particularly in areas such as the word liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," and the date itself, with collectors willing to pay hundreds for dramatic examples, especially when the doubling is crisp and uncirculated. And what makes these even more desirable is that double dies from the 2000s are far less common than in earlier decades, making any verified 2004 double die an especially valuable catch for collectors. And alongside double dies, another significant error type found in 2004 pennies are off-center strikes, where the coin is misaligned during the striking process, resulting in a partial design that often leaves a blank crescent on one side of the coin. And the more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin tends to be, especially if the date is still fully visible, with examples ranging from 10% to 60% off-center selling for well over $100 in some cases. And when these coins are also in high mint state condition with full red luster and no post-mint damage, their value only increases. And then there are die cracks and die breaks, which occur as the dies wear out and begin to fail, resulting in raised lines, blobs, or chunks of metal that appear across the coin's surface. Errors that are especially notable when they form dramatic patterns or appear in significant locations, like over Lincoln's portrait or across the fields of the coin. And the 2004 penny has been known to contain examples with large cut breaks, especially along the rim, where a piece of the die completely breaks away and causes a thick, raised area of metal. And these cut errors can be highly collectible, especially when they are cleanly formed and accompanied by other signs of die deterioration. And another particularly interesting 2004 penny error involves die clashes, which occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leading to ghost-like impressions of one side's design being transferred onto the other die and subsequently struck onto coins. And these clashed die pennies can show partial outlines of Lincoln's memorial on the obverse or faint features of Lincoln's head on the reverse, depending on how the dies came into contact. And these clash marks can sometimes be subtle, requiring magnification, but in well-preserved and clearly visible examples, they can significantly boost a coin's value, especially if the clashing is dramatic or involves multiple areas of overlap. And let's not forget about repunched mint marks, or RPMs, a favorite among collectors of Lincoln cents, which are caused when the mint mark was manually punched more than once into the working die in slightly different positions, a method still used in Denver during the early 2000s. And some 2004 D pennies have been identified with clear doubling of the mint mark, which adds uniqueness and appeal for those building error collections. And these RPMs can vary in how dramatic the doubling is, with the most prominent examples commanding higher prices. And on the topic of dramatic visual impact, Struck-through errors are also a highly valuable subset of mint mistakes, where foreign objects such as thread, grease, or even fragments of other coins get between the die and planchette during striking, leaving behind unusual textures, depressions, or unstruck areas on the coin's surface, and struck-through grease errors in particular were known to occur in 2004 pennies, leading to missing or weakened design elements like faded dates, invisible mint marks, or smoothed-out legends. And depending on how extreme and visually interesting the struck-through error is, collectors might pay a premium for these coins, especially if the coin is otherwise in excellent condition, and the presence of multiple errors on a single coin can multiply its value, such as a 2004 penny with both a doubled die and an off-center strike or a cud break along with a die clash, and when multiple major errors are found on the same coin, it creates a unique collectible that is often one of a kind, drawing fierce competition among error specialists at coin shows, auctions, and online marketplaces, and some of the most valuable 2004 pennies documented have sold for over $239 not just because of a single error, but because they featured a rare and desirable combination of mistakes in mint state. Grades, authenticated and graded by leading services like PCGS and NGC, and the grade of the coin plays a major role in determining its value, with full red, road, mint state coins commanding higher prices than brown or red-brown examples, and coins with no signs of wear, full strike, and clean surfaces always fetch more. And another type of 2004 penny error that has gained attention is the floating roof error on the reverse, which happens when parts of the die responsible for striking the roof of the Lincoln Memorial fade or wear out, creating the appearance that the roof is disconnected or floating above the columns. And while this isn't a traditional mint error, it is considered a die state variety and has become a minor collector niche of its own. And when combined with other errors or found in high condition, these floating roof varieties can become quite collectible. And another important point is that coin roll hunters and collectors have identified coins struck on foreign planches or transitional planches that do not conform to the standard copper-plated zinc specifications of 2.5 grams, meaning that any 2004 penny that significantly deviates in weight could be an error coin struck on an incorrect planchette. And these wrong planchette coins are exceptionally rare but can command extremely high prices, especially if they're from planches intended for foreign coinage or earlier composition tests, and so it is always advisable to weigh your 2004 pennies and check for discrepancies, as they might indicate a hidden treasure that others have missed. And planchette flaws can also result in laminations, where a layer of the coin's metal peels away or flakes off due to poor bonding during the creation of the coin blank, and these lamination errors create dramatic visual appearances, sometimes leaving jagged lines, missing sections, or unusual textures. And while minor laminations may not add much value, larger or more central ones can drive interest and raise the value considerably. And all these errors and varieties are made even more valuable when combined with rarity and visual impact, because at the end of the day, collectors are willing to pay more for coins that are not only technically rare but also visually impressive or aesthetically pleasing. And this is where the 2004 penny shines, because despite its relatively recent mintage, it provides a surprising number of error opportunities that aren't often found in modern circulating coins, and in a market where collector interest continues to rise for modern era coins, especially those with strong eye appeal and verified authentication, these rare 2004 1-cent coins can easily command $239 or more at auction or through private sale, and many era enthusiasts are now turning their attention to post-2000 coins for new discoveries, making the 2004 penny a hot item in an increasingly competitive collecting environment. And thanks to internet marketplaces, grading services, and online forums. Last 2010 D1 USA coin, where we dive deep into the exciting, unpredictable, and often jaw-dropping world of valuable coins hiding in plain sight. And today we are going to uncover the surprising story of the 2010 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin. A modern-day copper-plated zinc penny from the Denver Mint that can be worth up to $25 or even more simply because of a fascinating range of errors and minting mistakes that have collectors and error specialists buzzing with interest and actively hunting through rolls, jars, and pocket change across the country to find their own slice of unexpected numismatic fortune. And while $25 may not sound like a fortune at first glance, consider the fact that this is a coin with a face value of just 1 cent. And now imagine owning hundreds or even thousands of these types of finds tucked away in a binder or coin folder that are worth many times their original value simply because of the minute but critical production flaws they carry. And the 2010 D penny, like many of its Lincoln cent siblings from the modern era, may not immediately catch your eye, but beneath the surface lies a treasure trove of collectible varieties, errors, and oddities that make certain examples especially valuable and highly sought after by serious collectors. And to fully appreciate why this seemingly ordinary coin minted at the Denver Mint in 2010 has become the subject of growing fascination, we need to first understand the conditions under which it was made, beginning with the sheer volume of production which ran into the hundreds of millions if not billions, meaning that while most of these coins were perfectly ordinary and made to spec, the massive scale of production, speed of minting machinery, and wear and tear on dies all contributed to a small but meaningful percentage of error coins being struck and released into circulation. And when it comes to errors that can push the value of a 2010 D penny to $25 or beyond, we must first talk about doubled die varieties which occur when the working dies used to strike the coin receive multiple misaligned impressions from the hub during the die creation process, resulting in a finished coin that displays visible doubling in the design elements. And although doubled dies from 2010 are less commonly found than in earlier decades, there have still been confirmed instances of noticeable doubling on 2010 D cents, especially in areas such as the date, the mint mark D, the word liberty, or the motto "I in God we trust" on the obverse. And when this doubling is bold and clear, it becomes a major collector's target, especially when the coin retains its original red luster, minimal wear, and good centering. And these coins often go unnoticed by the untrained eye but can be spotted with a 10x loupe or microscope, and professional graders and variety specialists often authenticate and certify these types of doubled dies, which can significantly increase their resale value on the open market. And now we move to another major category of valuable errors that includes off-center strikes, which happen when the blank planchette intended to be struck by the die is misaligned and does not sit properly within the collar during striking, resulting in coins with partial designs, blank crescent-shaped areas, and misregistered features that stand out as obvious production mistakes. And the degree of off-center strike plays a major role in value. The more off-center the coin is while still showing the date and mint mark, the more desirable it becomes to collectors. And with the 2010 D cent, examples showing 10 to 60% off-center strikes have been recorded, especially in uncirculated condition, that sell for well over their face value, with the $25 mark being a common benchmark for dramatic, eye-catching specimens that combine visibility of date, full or partial Lincoln profile, and pristine surfaces. And die cracks and die breaks are another rich field of interest for collectors of the 2010 D cent, as these errors are the result of the die wearing out or breaking under pressure, causing raised lines or blobs on the coin where metal fills the voids in the damaged die surface. And while minor die cracks are common and may not fetch premium prices, larger and more dramatic die breaks, especially cud breaks, where a piece of the die near the edge breaks off completely, can turn a basic coin into a $25 gem. And the location, shape, and size of these die cracks and cuds determine their visual appeal and collectability, with full cuds near the rim or spanning key parts of the design, such as Lincoln's head or the shield on the reverse, being especially desirable. And when we talk about the shield reverse design, which was introduced just a year earlier in 2010, It's important to note that this reverse has its own unique set of errors, including die chips and filled shield lines where die fatigue or contamination leads to missing or malformed parts of the design, and these can create unusual visual effects such as a missing bar in the shield or blobs around the scroll or stripes, and collectors particularly enjoy these anomalies because they create the illusion of a design variation even if the error is technically caused by a flaw in the die or striking process. And another notable error type found on 2010D cents includes repunched mint marks or RPMs, which are the result of the mint mark being punched more than once into the working die in slightly different positions, creating a doubled or shadowed effect that can be seen under magnification. And although this practice was becoming less common by 2010 due to technological improvements and the transition to single-squeeze die production, remnants of RPMs have been noted, especially in cases where old machinery or incorrect settings caused overlap, and these RPM varieties can command premiums from variety specialists and Lincoln cent error collectors, especially when listed in recognized reference catalogs or verified by grading companies. And speaking of grading, coins that feature errors and also maintain high-grade condition, such as MS65 or higher, will always be more valuable than lower-grade examples. And even common errors can reach or exceed the $25 price point when found on pristine coins with bright red color, no contact marks, and full detail. And then we have strike-through errors, which are caused when a foreign substance or object is present between the die and planchet during striking, resulting in a loss or alteration of design in the affected area, and these can range from minor grease-filled dies that cause faint or missing lettering or numbers, to dramatic struck-through cloth, string, or metal that leaves distinctive patterns and impressions that are entirely unique to the specific coin. And 2010 strike-through errors have been found where parts of the date or motto are barely visible or even missing altogether, and these types of dramatic errors are often worth much more than $25, especially if the object that caused the strike-through left an identifiable pattern or texture, and collectors prize these coins as one-of-a-kind artifacts of minting history. And when multiple errors are found on a single coin, such as a doubled die with an off-center strike or a cud with a mint mark anomaly, the value can increase substantially due to the uniqueness and complexity of the error. And while such combinations are rare, they do occur, and 2010D pennies with 2 or more concurrent errors are worth watching out for. And another variety to keep an eye out for involves the shield reverse, where minor design misalignments or hub doubling has been spotted in the stripes or scrollwork, creating coins that, although subtle, show enough variation to spark interest from design variety collectors who specialize in post-2010 Lincoln cents. And these design flaws or doubling may not always be strong enough to qualify as full doubled dies but still exhibit enough differentiation to be listed in specialized variety publications or coin forums. And then we get into the area of planchet flaws such as laminations, where part of the metal surface peels away due to impurities or poor bonding in the metal blank. And while these are less common in modern coins due to quality control, 2010D examples have surfaced with lamination peels on Lincoln's portrait or the shield, sometimes dramatically affecting the visual appearance of the coin and turning it into a conversation piece among collectors. And if the lamination affects a major design element or creates an unusual shape or texture, it can increase the coin's desirability, especially in uncirculated condition. And lastly, we should consider the context of modern era collecting, which has been growing steadily as more and more collectors turn their attention to post-2000 coins in search of undiscovered varieties and low-cost opportunities for investment, and the 2010D penny represents one of those opportunities.